I have a question for you all. Why aren't there very many good videos about how to apply dev edits on YouTube? I searched for days. I didn't find any. I found one, but I'll talk about that later. Hi everybody, welcome back to The Plotter's Apprentice. My name is Aisley Oliphant. I write fiction under AC Oliphant, and I'm here to talk about how to apply developmental edits, or at least how I did when I couldn't find very much online to help me figure out how to do it. Alright, so why am I talking about how to apply dev edits? Well, it's because I feel like there's a lot of videos out there from like editors and other people from that end of the table explaining how to apply dev edits or the process of doing self-editing and stuff like that. But I haven't found a single video out there that tells you how to apply the edits you get back from your developmental editor. Like, what's the process? How should you go about it? You know, stuff like that. Stuff I feel like there should be a video about, but I've been unsuccessful in finding one. This is also bugging me because I recently worked on a short story called Pearls, where I really struggled with trying to figure out how to apply those dev edits for the first time. I got a really great dev editor. She was wonderful. Her name is Celia Mangalam. If anybody wants to like check her out, she's on Readsy. She does really good work. And I got those edits back and I wasn't sure what to do. Like I had no idea. And I did like the YouTube search, I did the Google search, and like there was nothing. Getting developmental edits back on Pearls was like me trying to figure out how to build a cathedral on my own and having the master architect come back and say, hey, you forgot the vestry. We need to have a vestry in this building. And based on the structure that you already have, it would best fit right here. And then they pointed a solid brick wall that has no joins and that's completely mortared in perfectly. And you just think to yourself, like, how the heck am I gonna like blow a hole in this solid wall to add this vestry? It kind of feels like that. I had no idea like how to blow a hole in the side of this cathedral I had built in order to add the vestries that had been requested by my developmental editor. There's no videos I could find about how to approach that process, where to start, how to do it, you know, way to be organized, you know, stuff like that. It was all general advice that I'm sure is helpful for some people out there, but for me, who was looking for like instructions on, you know, how to like, I mean, to keep going with the cathedral analogy, you know, cut the bricks just right so that I could add the vestry in there and then, you know, join them with the mortar and have it look like the vestry was there the whole time. Like I wanted a process. I wanted like a solid step-by-step how to do this, kind of like a mason would get when working on a construction like a cathedral. So this is the fun part of the video when I talk about what I learned and how I managed to do it. So here are 6 things that I learned while applying developmental edits for the very first time. All right, so the first thing on my list here that I did is I made a revision document that had a checklist of all of the changes that my developmental editor had suggested. I included a line in there that, you know, marked about where the suggestion needed to go in, and I wrote myself a little bit of summary of what needed to go in there. I made sure that the checkbox was checkboxable, I guess. And I created a heading for each section. So like section 1, 2, chapter, you know, and if this was your piece of work, you could do chapter 1, chapter 2, you get the idea. But I had headings in there so that I could keep track of where those specific edits needed to go. I also had a heading for all of the things that were like bigger picture, like things that would span multiple chapters or sections instead of just like one little tiny paragraph. And so I made sure that while I was reading my document and looking at all of the things that my developmental editor had to say, I made a note under the proper heading of what that was, like I explained. I also wrote out how I was going to apply those changes so that I knew what I was doing when I went actually through the document. And in some cases, this was really helpful because it allowed me to kind of think on the page. I don't know how many of you out there are developmental. I don't know how many of you out there are discovery writers. I'm a bit of both. I like to have enough of an outline that it's like pointing me in a direction, go that way. But I need to have that flexibility in order to like think through things and get in my characters' heads and things like that. And I really felt like being able to put it out on a checklist where I was notating what those changes were really helped me figure out what I was trying to say before I hit the document, and made it a lot easier for me to actually like pull everything together. The other thing I decided to do was I put everything in my Notion. I have my Notion set up so that I can see like progress. So I made a Notion task for each one of those edits that I had on my sheet, my Google Docs change sheet. And then I made it so that I could check each of those off and I could see what % I was through all of those developmental edits. The second thing that I did to apply these edits actually comes from the only YouTube video that I found that was actually helpful on the subject of applying them. It was from Jessica Brody's video, the Frankenstein revision method. I'm also going to link that video in the description so that you can access it and see if it helps you. This was something that I found to be extremely valuable and helped me break out of that paralysis that came from like not knowing how to blow holes on the side of my cathedral and add the vestry. So you can go and watch Jessica Brody's video, but I'll give you a little sum up here. So basically the idea is you have two documents open on your desktop at the same time. You have your original document and you have a blank document. And so you're supposed to go through line by line, paragraph by paragraph, however you're comfortable, and copy over everything that you're keeping from the original document and put it into your new document. And then when you get to a place in your revision notes where you need to make a change, you summarize the change in brackets in that document where it goes. And then you move on to the next paragraph and you paste in everything that you're keeping there. So once you have your bracketed document, then you go back in and replace those brackets with the prose that you intended to use to like stitch it together. And you go through the whole document this way until you've applied all your developmental edits. The one thing that I will add to this, I found it extremely difficult to try and match the tone of what I'd already written. I had a lot of good stuff in Pearls that just worked from the very beginning, and I didn't really have to change much in how I narrated or described or, stuff like that. Like, yes, I had to make changes, but quite a bit of it had the tone, the feel, and the narration style that I wanted. And I found it very, very difficult to try and make those bracketed areas match initially. So I ended up having to approach it a little bit differently. I recognized in my writing process that when I wrote Pearls, what I had to do is I had to write it really long and then cut it down to what I was actually intending to say. But I just realized I'm getting ahead of myself. So the third thing I did was I allowed myself to write ugly. And as I said, I realized that in my process, I had to write really long and then cut it down to the narration style that I really liked and that felt right for the story. And in doing that, I allowed myself to kind of think a bit more on the page. I allowed myself to make it the worst version that it possibly could. I was really worried that I was actually going to miss some of those spaces where I had, written long and tried to stitch that together and it just wasn't working. I was so worried it was going to just like disappear into the document and I'd never see it again. And then it would go out into the world and be bad. And so I ended up keeping the font different in all of those sections. I changed it to Comic Sans. I don't know if you've heard about the trick of when you're trying to get something like written and you're having a hard time getting past that perfectionist stage, that you change the font to Comic Sans and it helps your brain just kind of unlock and go, oh, this can be a little bit more casual, and then the words flow. I was going off of that theory. So I kept everything in the Comic Sans font so it would pop out at me when I was going back through and trying to fix the document. That seemed to work really well for me. So the fourth thing I did was after I had gotten everything, like all of the brackets gone, written out, the entire document stitched together, then I decided I needed a break. I had to take a break. So I gave myself like 3 days to just let it sit on the back burner. I decided to go and plot something else and just have a fun time occupying my brain with anything but Pearls, because like it got to a point where I was just sick of my writing. Tired of reading it over and over again, tired of messing with it. So those 3 days that I just let it sit, or was it 2? I think it was 2 to 3 days. I don't remember at this point. But either way, I let it sit, and it was so much fun to write something else for a while and just let my brain like cook on what it had written like in the background. All right, so the 5th thing that I did after I had taken a break is I went back through and I tightened up all of the prose, and I tried to make it as close to what I had in my narration as possible. That meant I really kind of had to like not overthink it and just make sure that like I had to read it out loud to myself and make sure everything flowed okay. But like those 2 days break like really helped me get that clarity that I needed and that step back and, you know, not feeling so precious about what I'd written that I could just like slash things and get rid of it. And so after I had that break, I was able to get everything smoothed out as best as I felt possible. And then I did the 6th thing. I went and sent off my story to people who had loved it from the beginning. Like, and by loved, I mean like had a passion for it, like raved to me about it, how much they loved it. And this was important because I felt like those were the people that really knew what the soul of the story was and could help me reconnect with that soul. Because at this point, you know, I had just lost it. This was my 5th draft and I was sick of looking at it. But those people were so key in helping me make sure that I didn't like overdo the edits, or, you know, that everything flowed very smoothly, that my main character stayed consistent. You know, all of the things that I changed, they were the ones that helped me figure out whether or not I had strayed from the original premise and the soul of the story. The 7th thing that I did is I had to try and learn how to listen to my writer instincts. This was extremely hard because I really started to doubt myself after like the billionth draft of my novel. I know I said 5, but like exaggeration. I really started to doubt myself and my ability to actually deliver the story for what it needed to be. What I ended up learning was that my writer instincts were actually better than I anticipated. And I would even venture to say that your writing instincts are probably better than what you think they are. You know the soul of your story the best. And I mean, at least in my case, I felt very much like I had an instinct, or, you know, like I could feel that something wasn't right. I could feel when something was wrong. And when I actually went back and reread everything that I had smoothed out in the past, I found that I was able to actually enhance the story with those edits without absolutely screwing up the story. And I would venture to say that your writer instinct could help you do something as well. You just gotta let go and just let yourself figure out what you're trying to say. And I feel like now that I know that my writer instinct is better than I think, now I can go forward with other projects and, you know, not doubt myself near as much. I mean, of course, I'm still going to doubt myself. That's the way things are. I'm always going to doubt myself with my writing, but at least I can trust a bit more in the process now. And at the end of it all, I had a story that I was actually really proud of. I submitted it to Writers of the Future last year. I nabbed an honorable mention, and that was even before I had my developmental edits done. And I'm really proud of the way that it turned out. I would even venture to say that it's some of the best writing that I have completed to date. And so that being said, I'm excited to present to you the official blurb for Pearls, a Savage Mermaid short story. Her aquarium killed her mate. Artagotas knows she's next. The morning after her mate succumbs to disease, Artagotas' fate is sealed. Alone and grieving, she doesn't bother hiding from the humans anymore. A human janitor named Eric catches sight of her. It awakens something she hasn't felt since she fell in love with her mate. Could his companionship ease the isolation of her inevitable death, or does she dare hope for survival? Pearls is a dark fantasy short story of grief, survival, and perseverance. If you love beautiful carnivorous mermaids and are interested in a PG take on Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, you'll love this story. So there you have it. That is the cover copy for Pearls. And I'm so stoked to announce that it's actually going to be available to read for free on my website on June 10th. Isn't that great? I'm so excited. Great cover art. So my illustrator is Annabelle OK. She did a fantastic job. And I mean, just look at it. It looks so good. I'm telling you, Annabelle's an artist wizard. And this is just the most incredible cover I could have asked for. I also commissioned her to make illustrations for the Insider Illustrated edition. So if you have an interest in seeing more art like this, then you can subscribe to my newsletter and become what I call an insider and get access to the illustrated version that's exclusive to my newsletter. And I'm so excited. The art is so beautiful. Also, if you're somebody who likes to get stuff early, I mean, I totally am. The illustrated version that's exclusive for my insiders, that's going to be coming out on June 3rd. And then on June 10th will be the public release of the ebook. Annabelle and I are going to be hosting like a release day party on June 10th on Twitch. It's going to be an adventure. We're looking at having like contests and looking at getting prints of her cover without the typography that we can like give to people who win. We were going to have like a question and answer. We probably are going to like shoot off confetti cannons. So it's going to be a super fun event, and both of us are so stoked for you to actually read this story, see her art, and take part in the story of Atargates. Thank you so much for watching. I learned so much trying to apply these dev edits, and I needed to share this information with you guys as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope to see you as one of my insiders. Like, don't forget, sign up for my newsletter. You can find it at www.acolifant.com/contact, and you can get the ebook that's illustrated early, and you'll be the first one to know the updates on any of my other projects. Thanks for watching this video. I can't wait for you guys to read Pearls. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with your other writer friends. Feel free to subscribe if you want more stuff like this, and let me know like what you do in order to get your dev edits done. But anyway, don't forget, you can subscribe to my newsletter and you'll get a lot of cool freebies. You'll get to see stuff early, and I hope I get to see you guys on the inside.